Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Russian ebook before it's gone.
Здравствуйте! Я Светлана. Welcome to RussianPod101.com. Alphabet made easy. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, the alphabet. In the previous lesson, we continued introducing some false friends. Russian letters that look like letters of the English alphabet but sound completely different. We've already learned several, but do you remember how to read and write them? Taking the time to review the lessons will be the key to learning how to write in Russian. In this lesson, we'll finish up with our false friends. Then we'll learn a few more words for you to add to your notebook. Ready to learn? Then let's go! Our first letter is S. It looks identical to the English upper and lowercase c, right? Of course, the Russian S does not sound like the English C, although I guess sometimes it does. I mean, the English C can sometimes make an S sound, so it's kind of like a mostly false friend, right? Here's the uppercase. And the lowercase. The cursive uppercase S looks like this. It's similar to the English cursive C, but thankfully it's a bit simpler than most Russian letters. Uppercase S is a single stroke which connects easily to the next letter without lifting your pen or pencil. As for the lowercase s, it's identical to the uppercase except for its size. Now we'll write them. And the lowercase. The second letter we'll learn in this lesson looks pretty familiar. U. As you can see, it looks similar to an English Y, with just small differences. Of course, it doesn't sound like Y at all, but at least it's easy to pronounce. U makes an U sound 100% of the time. Here's how to write the printed versions. And the lowercase. Now let's take a look at how to write U in cursive. The uppercase version looks like this. As you can see, the cursive version of U looks similar to the English Y. It's written in a single stroke and connects easily to the next letter. While the uppercase version does not dip below the line, the lowercase version does. Now it's time to write it. And the lowercase. Let's learn one more letter. The third letter we learn in this lesson should look pretty familiar too. H. As you can see, it looks identical to the English X, but of course it doesn't sound like X. Actually, this will be a new sound for most English speakers. H makes a harder H sound, H. H makes this sound 100% of the time. Here's how to write the printed versions. And the lowercase. As you can see, the cursive version of H is not at all similar to the cursive version of the English X. It's written in two strokes and connects easily to the next letter. Lowercase h looks exactly like the uppercase version, but just a little smaller. Let's write it. And the lowercase. And that's all! Wow! Great job today! We finally met the last of our false friends. We'll continue learning more letters in the next lesson. But for now, let's practice using these letters in some new words. First up is a word that uses two of our new letters. Try reading it aloud. It should be easy. It's pronounced сахар and means sugar. Russians love tea with sugar, so you'll see this word a lot. Now let's try writing it. We'll use lowercase letters. Сахар. Now let's try writing two sentences. As you know from a previous lesson, on means he. Turk means Turk, as in someone from Turkey. So the first sentence means he is Turkish. In the second sentence, we see есть, which is an important word meaning eats. And halva is a popular sweet in Russia, originally from the Middle East. In English, it's called halva. The second sentence means he is eating halva. Now let's try to write it. We'll start each sentence properly with an uppercase letter. Он турок. Он ест халву. Now it's time for Svetlana's insights. You probably realized this, but the order we're learning the alphabet is not actually the correct order. We're using this order because it's easier to learn. But just be aware that it's not the way Russian children learn it, or how a Russian would recite the alphabet. In the next Alphabet Made Easy lesson, we'll be introducing some interesting new letters that are going to be completely unfamiliar to you. Are you excited yet? Пока-пока! Здравствуйте! Я Светлана. Welcome to RussianPod101.com's Alphabet Made Easy, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, the alphabet. In the last lesson, we met the last of our false friends, the Russian letters that look like letters of the English alphabet but sound different. I hope you remember how to read and write them all. If you've been practicing, I'm sure you're doing a great job. In this lesson, we'll learn a new category of Russian letters, new friends. New friends are letters that don't look like English letters but have sounds that can be found in English. That means that they should all be very easy to pronounce. Ready to learn? Then let's go! Our first new friend is B. This is the first truly new-looking letter for English speakers. Although it looks new, it should sound quite familiar. B is pronounced just like the English B. As you can see though, the upper and lower case look very different. Here's the uppercase. And the lowercase. The cursive uppercase B looks like this. It has two strokes and continues to the next letter after the lower stroke. The lowercase is quite different from the uppercase, and you have to lift your pen at the end. This makes lowercase b the only letter which does not connect smoothly to the following letter. Now we'll write them. And the lowercase. Let's move on to another new friend. The second letter in this lesson looks like a rotated uppercase L in English. G. While it may look strange, G has a pretty familiar sound. G functions in the same way as the English G, and almost always makes a hard G sound. Sometimes it can sound like V, but only in rare cases. Here's how to write the printed versions. And the lowercase. Now let's take a look at how to write ge in cursive. The uppercase version looks like this. As you can see, the cursive version of ge looks kind of like the uppercase T in English. It's written in 2 strokes and connects to the next letter by swinging back around. Now let's take a look at the lowercase cursive ge. Lowercase ge is a lot trickier because it looks nothing like the printed version. On its own, it's written like this, but when connected to the preceding letter, it looks a lot more natural. Handwriting time. And the lowercase. That's it for our new friends today. We'll continue learning more letters next lesson. But for now, let's practice using these letters in some new words. First up is a word that uses both of our new letters. Try reading it aloud. I hope you could successfully read this as Bog. It's a very important word for many Russian people. It means God. Let's write it. Bog. Next is a somewhat funny phrase with 2 grammatically correct sentences. We already know some of these words. Hopefully remember that on and jest mean he and its. Begemoth is similar to the English word behemoth, but in Russian it also means hippopotamus. Travu means grass. So these sentences can be translated as it's a hippopotamus, it's eating grass. Now that we understand it, let's try writing it by hand. Он бегемот. Он ест траву. Let's start with an uppercase O. Also remember that lowercase b does not connect directly to the next letter. Be careful not to confuse the lowercase m and t. Give it your best shot. Now it's time for Svetlana's insights. Are you familiar with Greek letters? Maybe you remember them from high school or college. If so, you've probably recognized a great deal of these Russian letters. The Cyrillic alphabet was originally derived from Greek letters, so many of them bear close resemblance even today. That just about wraps it up for this lesson. Next time I'll introduce some more new friends. I hope you're excited. See you in the next Alphavit Made Easy lesson. Пока-пока!
If you want to learn more words so you can speak and understand even more of your target language, there is a super simple way to do this. In fact, it's so simple that most people don't even think of it because it doesn't involve language apps, YouTube videos, or your computer. I'm talking about writing things out by hand. How to learn words and phrases by writing them out. And in this guide, you'll discover 1. Why writing words out helps you pick up languages faster, 2. How to use our free PDF workbooks to practice writing, and much more. But first, if you don't yet have access to our language learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. You probably already know that one of the best ways to master a language is through actually using it and practicing it. And that's where writing things out comes in, because you're using the language when you write it down. And on top of that, the physical act of writing helps your brain remember the words much better than seeing them on screen or typing them out. Now, handwriting may feel slow, but by taking it slow, you actually speed up your learning and master the language faster because you engage more of your brain in the process. So, how can you do this? You can apply this trick to any resource that you're using right now by simply copying out the words and phrases that you come across. The more you write them out, the better they'll stick. With our learning system, you can 1. Practice with our free PDF writing workbooks and worksheets. All members get free access to our PDF writing workbooks and worksheets, which are based on common topics like the alphabet, common nouns, adjectives, greetings, and much more. Inside, you learn the most common words and phrases for that topic, and you get plenty of space to practice writing the words out. And in the last section of the workbook, you'll get tested on the words. You'll see the translations of the words, so you'll have to try and remember the meaning in the target language and write it in. 2. Practice writing with the free Word of the Day emails. Every day, we send you a new word to your email inbox. You get the audio pronunciation, sample sentence, and a picture to help it stick. But you can also just as easily write that word down and do that daily, every time the emails come in. And now you have a simple language routine going that you can stick with. Now, if you want to learn a little more than just words, you can 3. Practice writing out the conversations from our lessons. So, if you want to master entire conversations in your target language, you can also copy out the conversations from our audio and video lessons by hand. And this will help you master words, phrases, and grammar rules all at once, since you're not just writing out words, but actual lines. Just scroll down to the dialogue section of a lesson to see the conversation. So, if you want to get access to these learning tools and our learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. Remember, here's what you can do to learn all of these words by heart. Drill these words with our spaced repetition flashcards, which will help cement these words into your long-term memory. Save them to the word bank, your personal vocabulary collection, where you can print out your own study sheets, or review the words with our looped vocabulary slideshow, and play it until you know all of the words. So click the link in the description right now, and sign up for your free lifetime account to get these lessons and study tools.
Здравствуйте! Я Светлана. Welcome to RussianPod101.com's Alphabet Made Easy, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, the alphabet. In the first 2 lessons, we covered the true friends in the Russian alphabet. Now we are going to take a look at some slightly more difficult Russian letters, the false friends. While true friends look and sound like their English counterparts, false friends look like English letters but sound completely different. Ready to go? Let's get started. In this lesson, we'll learn how to read and write 2 false friends in both printed and cursive forms. Our first letter is Y. You really want this letter to make an E sound, don't you? Even the upper and lower cases are the same as the English. This letter, however, sounds like Y and sometimes E. In later lessons, we'll tell you more about when and why the pronunciation changes. While Y is a false friend, at least it's not trying to deceive you too much. Here's the uppercase. And the lowercase. Now let's take a look at how to write it in cursive. The cursive version of uppercase Y looks like this. It's nearly identical to the English cursive and easy to write. Y is a single stroke, so you can continue with the next letter after the uppercase without lifting your pen or pencil. Now let's take a look at the lowercase handwritten Y. Again, it's similar to the English cursive, but in Russian, their starting point isn't from the bottom. Now we'll write them. And the lowercase. For both the upper and lowercase versions, it's easy to connect to the next letter. The second false friend we'll learn in this lesson is N. As you can see, it looks exactly like an English H. But of course it doesn't sound like one. It's actually pronounced like the English N. You could always rotate the middle line in your head to make them into N's. Here's how to write the printed versions. And the lowercase. Now let's take a look at how to write N in cursive. The uppercase version looks like this. As you can see, the cursive version of N is very different from the printed version and is written in a single stroke that ends at the bottom rather than the top. As for the lowercase, it's a little bit different. Handwriting time. And the lowercase. That's all for new letters in this lesson. So let's practice writing these letters in some new words. First up is something you'll need to use every day, and probably already know. Try sounding it out. Did you guess нет? If so, great job! You may have already known this word before you watched this lesson, but I'll bet you haven't written it before, so let's do it now. Let's make this an exclamation. Нет. So we'll start with an uppercase N, followed by a lowercase y and t. Then we'll polish it off with an exclamation point. Нет. Are you ready to stop? Нет? I knew it. We'll learn two more words that are very important and that you will hear all the time. Try reading them out loud. Did you say on? Great. What about она? Probably not, huh? Here you can hear how O can be pronounced as both O and A. Again, we'll talk later about why this happens. On is the male personal pronoun, the Russian equivalent of he, and она is the word for she. Pretty useful. Now let's try writing them. Let's start on with a nice O and transition smoothly into the N. Great! Now let's write она. Start with the O again, then make a beautiful N and finish it out with an A. Nice work! Now it's time for Svetlana's insights. You may notice that there are some pretty big differences between Russian and English cursive styles. Russian cursive is much more common and more complicated. But it's fun, and you'll really be able to impress your Russian friends with your beautiful penmanship. One structural difference between Russian and English cursive styles is their starting and ending points of letters. In English, letters usually start from the bottom of the writing line. But in Russian, all lowercase letters start slightly above the line. This gives the Russian script a much different look and is part of the reason that some letters have hooks. Well, that's all for this lesson. We'll continue next time with a few more false friends. We'll learn some very useful letters to write common words like and in Russian. We'll learn that and much more in the next Alphabet Made Easy lesson. Пока-пока! Здравствуйте! Я Светлана. Welcome to RussianPod101.com's Alphabet Made Easy. the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, the alphabet. In the previous lesson, we introduced our first group of false friends, Russian letters that look like letters of the English alphabet but have completely different sounds. The first false friends that we learned were ye and n. Do you remember how to write them? What about the true friends from the first two lessons? Make sure that you feel confident about the characters from past lessons before moving on. In this lesson, we'll continue by learning two more false friends. After that, we'll learn a few more words to add to your notebook. Ready? Let's go! Our first letter is V. It looks identical to the English uppercase B, right? But the Russian V, as you have probably guessed, does not sound like B at all. It sounds like the English V, but a little bit harder. Listen to the pronunciation carefully. V. This letter is almost always pronounced in this way, but it can sometimes sound like a F when it comes at the end of the word. Here's the uppercase. And the lowercase. The cursive uppercase V looks like this. It's nearly identical to the cursive B in English and should be easy to write. V is a single stroke, so you can easily connect it to the next letter after the uppercase without lifting your pen or pencil. Again, the lowercase v is similar to the English cursive, but the Russian V has a larger upper loop than the English B. Remember that in Russian, the starting point isn't from the bottom of the line. Now we'll write them. And the lowercase. The second letter we'll learn in this lesson is another you'll recognize by sight, R. As you can see, it looks exactly like the English P, except that it doesn't dip beneath the line as far as the lowercase p in English. This letter is difficult to pronounce for some native English speakers. It's like the Spanish R, but not quite as continuous. R. Here's how to write the printed versions. And the lowercase. Now let's take a look at how to write R in cursive. The uppercase version looks like this. As you can see, the cursive version of R is quite different than in English, and is written in two strokes. Please note that the lowercase r does not make a closed circle the same way as a lowercase cursive p in English. Handwriting time! And the lowercase. We'll continue learning more letters next time, but for now, let's practice using these letters in some new words. First up is a word that uses both of our new letters. Try reading it aloud. Did you say Venera? If you didn't, that's okay. Here we can see how ye can be pronounced as either e or ye. Venera is a Russian name for the planet Venus, and it's also a girl's name. Now try writing it. Let's start with an uppercase V. Venera. Great job! Now let's try writing a sentence. We'll combine a word from the previous lesson with a new word to make a sentence that hopefully you will never need to use. Try reading it. Hopefully you read on vor. This means he the thief in Russian. If someone snatches your purse or steals your wallet, you'll be glad you learned this sentence. Now let's try writing it by hand. Since it's a sentence, we'll start out with an uppercase O. On, vor. Make sure that your connections are smooth and fluid. Now it's time for Svetlana's insights. Your handwriting is like a signature, and no two people's are the same. When you see actual Russian handwriting, you may notice that sometimes people write letters in different ways. You'll notice a lot of people don't connect letters properly to the next one. Other people mix print-style letters with cursive letters. However, if you learn cursive properly, you will certainly impress your Russian friends and be able to understand almost anyone's handwriting. Good luck! That's it for this lesson. Today you moved from writing single words into sentences. In the next Alphabet Made Easy lesson, we'll be back to meet the last of our false friends, and then it's on to uncharted territory. Пока-пока!
Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Russian ebook before it's gone.